I was a whopping 5'8". So
Is that still true to this day? You're still a whopping 5'8"?
no, I'm now to 5'7".
Oh no! Oh man!
I've gone the other way,
Oh
but
no!
the waistline's going to make up for that. Hello, Galen. Hello, people out there in podcast land. My name is Daryl, and this is my friend Galen.
Hello, everybody. Yes, they remember us. Who
I
could
hope
forget
so.
two guys, two states? We chat, we laugh, we make memories. That's what we're doing here.
So this is good, good. So welcome back, Galen. We got just a lot of fun stuff coming up. Just want to talk about things that happen in people's lives, things that we can relate to. You know, it's like, oh, that happens time when this happened to me, and it's the exact same thing. You know,
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that I want to share, you know, stories of, it's memories. That's what it is.
Yep. Yep. I love it. What we've found is we have some shared experience, even being thousands of miles apart. When we say two guys, two states, I mean, we're on opposite ends of the planet. It feels like turns out to be just on the opposite ends of the United States, but
Yeah,
that's
that's a
far
good thing
enough away.
because Mercury's a little far from Pluto,
That's right. Oh,
and it's a very small galaxy.
yeah. The one I live in is really small. Oh, I'm
Uh,
seeing stars every day.
I hear the crickets already. People, don't spit your coffee out.
Yeah, stay with us, would you? I know we had talked about expanding our experience on when did we meet each other, where we've been. We talked about that a little bit on our first episode, and then where we're headed going forward on the podcast and each of us in our lives.
That's a good thing. Well, actually, let me ask you a question. Basically, I do recall you stating before that you had gone to Central College, but then that was in your first couple of years of going to college after high school, correct?
Yes, right.
So where did you end up after that?
Well, right after high school, jumped on a plane and got out of my West Coast living and headed to Kansas for 2 years. At Kansas, I met people that were transferring to all these different colleges and universities, and one of them was Greenville College. I looked into that. I thought, well, yeah, there's some things I still want to do with education. What I didn't realize is I didn't want to pay for it still. But you don't know that when you're there. You figure that out like a year or two after you graduate. You realize
Yeah, when you
who's
realize,
sending
yeah,
who's sending me these bills? I got to pay for that? That doesn't make sense.
might be a whole different story in today's society, but I won't go there.
Oh. So I had been to Greenville once while I was at Central. I was on a choir team of about 12 of us that went to St. Louis St. Louis, Missouri, and we stayed in Greenville. Actually, I stayed with a guy I was in his room, Dan Vesley, and
Mm.
his roommate. I remember I slept on the floor, and then the next thing I know, I go back and finish my college time at Central, and then decide to transfer to Greenville. I knew probably about 10 other people that were transferring, and I thought, man, that would be great. And so I did it to see what would happen, and there I was. I really believe it was the right thing, and even as we believe in divine direction or order of my life, it was definitely where I was supposed to be. And the people I've met and stayed in contact with, it's priceless, really. I mean, it's just been awesome. So yeah. Hey, so before we saw each other and kind of met each other on campus, when and how did you get to Greenville? Because you weren't at Central with me, but you were somewhere out there.
Well, I graduated in 1984 from high school, and then that following year I had some tragedy in my life. You know, I was accepted in a local church, you know, finding my way around, and I decided I wanted three things in a college. And that was one was I wanted a believing college, you know, a Christian college. Two, I wanted to play the bass guitar, so I wanted a music program, not just something that was going to have you play the piano and orchestrate an orchestra or a choir. And I didn't want to be a music teacher. And the third reason, honestly, escapes my mind at the moment. Oh, I wanted to play baseball because I really was in playing baseball in those years. You know, I just came out of it. And I was, I could run fast. I had a good glove, but I just didn't have any size. I was a whopping 5'8". So
Is that still true to this day? You're still a whopping 5'8"?
no, I'm down to 5'7".
Oh no! Oh man!
I've gone the other way,
Oh
but the
no!
waistline's going to make up for that.
Oh good. Oh okay, okay.
That 50 plus years.
Well,
So anyway, the other one was to play baseball, and I did want to try out. I remember that was my first plane ride too. I left and I got set up from somebody who was actually in the church that I just started going to. They got me registered, and I don't remember how we actually found it, but maybe it was something that they got a brochure from, because this was the first year of a contemporary Christian music program, also known as CCM. I think they got something, or they saw something maybe in a flyer, because it wasn't online at that time, because that would have been 1986. So I grabbed it and I'm like, you know what? I want to do this. I was at a dead end job and I just didn't want to be able to stick around anymore, and I was really excited about leaving because I didn't feel like I had anything here where I was living. So that's my story. That's how I ended up there. So I got myself registered. I did transfer a couple of grades. They weren't the best, from Hudson Valley Community College in Troy, New York. And away I went. My life changed a lot of ways, one because of God, but two because of where I was located. I was forced to grow up. I was able to
mhm.
get out there on my own, a lot of hard times along the way. Young guy, and I'm out there all by myself. But there was the security of Greenville. It was kind of like there's a big world out there. I remember people saying this, but at the same time, we're confided to this college campus. We didn't leave the campus,
Mhm.
and it just kind of surrounded us. So, in that aspect, there's a lot of ways you could look at this and learn and grow, and everybody's got a different story, of course. But
Yeah.
that's how I ended up there.
It is kind of wild. You didn't have any Free Methodist background, which the
Mm-mm.
school is connected to that denomination. I didn't either. I mean, I came from a different church background, so it didn't really appeal to me in that sense. But I had to get away from home, and once I'd gotten to Central, it's like, oh, the sky's the limit. I could have gone to school anywhere on the planet. I feel like it was so much more manageable, and still I resonate with what you're saying on the safety of, it was a small rural campus, and I felt safe and loved and accepted, and there was a place for me there. Yeah.
Yes, and there, I mean, some of the stereotypical settings at first, were kind of like, oh wow, there's a football team here, and this is their first year that Greenville College actually had a football team.
Mm.
At the same first year that they had the contemporary Christian music program, and these things went on to be big name things, studies, I guess. The CCM program actually had a group come out of it called Jars of Clay, and I
That's right.
guess they actually are pretty big, or at least they were. I'm not so sure at this particular moment. It was pretty good, at
And
least in that way. As I look back, they always say hindsight is 2020.
hey, so and you blazed the trail for. I'm going to give you
Yes, and you
credit.
know what? Yeah, we were the guinea pigs.
Oh man. And we can think of names and faces and all the different people that were there with
Yeah, but
doing. We've kind of agreed to not disclose people's names unless they gave us permission. So, but we put comments in the comment section here on our podcast, and we can connect with you, especially if we knew you back then or you
well,
knew
if you
us.
knew us back then, you could send us a postcard.
There we go. So then, okay, here we are roaming aimlessly around a campus in a rural town in southern Illinois. How did we see each other or meet? I don't really have a memory until we lived together our senior year. So, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would think so too. Maybe I don't know what kind of functions you went to. I know that I did not so much the first year, but I was in a couple of I got right involved in groups, whether it was a group called Fortress or Cornerstone. I was in the choir because it was a prerequisite or something mandatory. And I didn't realize I would have had to sing because I had no formal training whatsoever. I learned a lot. I came away very satisfied with a lot of things. Greenville College helped a lot. But as far as meeting you, you're right. I don't remember I don't remember you per se until, funny story, not until later on. I do remember you going to St. Louis and being a big part of, I don't recall, the church out there.
It was Lighthouse. Yeah.
Lighthouse, yep.
Yeah.
And I maybe just passing you, or I do remember I was in one of your classes, but that again, it was either senior year or it was junior year when we were in some kind of Western Christianity program,
And
you know,
I did some music. I did a little bit with the dinner. They'd have that
Madrigal Dinner.
madrigal dinner.
That's right. We were in that together.
Oh, was that us together? Okay, good. I couldn't remember. There's another guy. First name
It's
starts with an H, and then the rest of that name is Owie, like getting hurt. But nobody will know who that is. Come on. Anyway, I do because I was involved with him a little bit too. So
Weren't you a jester?
yeah. Were
That
you?
was the same. I was a page that year. And then
Oh,
the following year, I was a jester along with a good friend of mine at the same time who was we were the big cut ups at the choir tour at the same time. He became a big part of Fortress and the contemporary Christian music program as well. Great singer.
I didn't. I didn't do it again. I was growing a beard, and then they wanted to have face paint. I felt out. I felt
You
out of
didn't
my
do it
own.
because of a beard?
Well, I felt out of my skin when I did do it. I did not feel that it was my, oh, just act normal. Well, okay, I'm dressed as a jester.
That was normal for you.
Yeah, it was normal, but I didn't know what to do. So I was harassing people and, you know, all in the name of gesturing, of course. But anyway, that was good. Well, so we could have run into each other there. And then music. Yeah, any of that music. I remember the music professor came one morning to my dorm room. He was looking for me because he wanted me to be part of some kind of a Christmas concert or something. And here I am getting out of the shower, sopping wet. And there he is, and you can picture him. You know exactly. In his
Oh my
suit.
goodness.
His suit with his overcoat was draped over his arm, and here I am, buck naked. And so, I mean, what the heck, dude? Well, we heard you're a singer and you could do this, and so I probably had to sign up to even be allowed to get dressed. So, but I never toured with the choir, which you might have done there. I don't remember.
Yep, I toured with that. As a matter of fact, that's how I got my opportunity to work at Walt Disney World.
Oh, okay.
When everybody was out, they were at River Country. I remember there was a couple of parks that they had gone to on a break. I think we had a Tuesday off, and I remember I was getting information so I could go back down to audition because I wanted to work there, and the only job I knew of was characters, and that's what I went for. I remember I was almost going to say a name, and I don't want to, but I stayed with his parents, and
Okay.
it was great. And I went down there, I auditioned, and it was nerve-wracking, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and I'll get into that story maybe another time.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
got the job. I graduated. I got the job, and then I'm like, well, or I didn't really graduate because I still needed 6 credits to finish up.
Oh
So I went
man.
back to Greenville, and even though I graduated and everybody that I kind of knew was kind of gone, I stayed there and another full semester and left at the end of 1990
Okay.
instead of just a spring. But as far as meeting you, I do well, like you said, it was later on. Whether in a couple of classes. I remember one story being on stage. They represented us for Who's Who in America colleges and
Oh
universities.
man.
But I only remember this because you told me about it. And
Yeah.
here I am somehow stuck standing next to you of all people because G comes or before H,
Yeah.
and then I think you said that, yeah, you just basically said what's wrong with this picture.
I mean, and by then
And
we
we
were.
looked at each other and we're just kind of like shrugging our shoulders. I've never been represented or honored or anything like that before. I mean, I won a spelling bee in 4th grade, but this was
Does that count?
nothing. Yeah, I mean
Oh,
that was it.
yeah. I
But anyway, that's what I remember mostly. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure that we're covering the question because everything else was pretty much a blast.
yeah,
Not always. I mean, you can't always be positive and always be negative.
no,
There was a good balance or better balance of positivity, but good times for me because it was more than just schooling. It was growing up,
yeah.
experiences. I mean, the first time I water skied,
Oh
first time I
wow.
had certain foods to eat. I learned different words that over in the Midwest it's called pop in tennis shoes, where I learned it as soda and sneakers.
Yeah,
So yeah, there are a lot of changes, a lot of newies.
yeah. And I loved that so much. I leaned into the just all the differences. So, well, by the time we were on stage and being recognized for Who's Who in college or whatever, I think that was towards the end of our senior year. So we'd lived together that year. And I love that it was us. I mean, I think there was probably a couple of people that weren't as happy for us because they thought they should be there. But when you think about decent grades, I wasn't a great student, but decent grades, and then I was involved. If there was something going on, especially I'd kind of turn to more ministry, social services. There was a lot of things. I think we both were on the radio, but
Oh
I was
yeah,
also
WGRN,
there.
yes.
We go downtown Greenville. I love it. It was fun. That was a lot of fun. But I also, the Simple Room, which is a, kind of for kids, community center for kids, and started some 12-step programs there. I helped with the senior center in Greenville. I helped with the hospice, Bond County. I mean, there was just things I was doing in every corner of just the downtown St. Louis stuff that you mentioned earlier. So, and it just seemed normal and natural to me. In fact, I'd rather be busy doing that than going to class and having to stay awake while one of those professors to be named later, drones on about something. Which we have some great stories on that stuff too.
But it was good. It's good to
Yeah,
look back and I'm just kind of hoping that, one of the things that we can do is just share our memories, make some more memories, or even touch on some memories that other people have that we don't even know we're doing it, but there's similarities because life is the same for a lot of people and
yeah,
life is not the same for a lot of people. Maybe this can be an encouragement. Maybe somebody's trying to get to a school like Greenville. They don't know how to go about it, or they want to get out of the where they're at so they can move on to something to better their future. I don't know.
yeah.
But there's always doors opening in people's lives.
Yes. Getting to a place of healthy memories, certainly I'm going to acknowledge the dark and the bad because I need to get clean and be in the light. However, I'm also going to redeem a lot of those memories, or I believe that can happen for the good and for the positive and the fun in the sun that really was happening there, and that I did have experiences with you and with all my, a lot of my other student
Right.
peers. Yeah.
So to play it forward now, after graduation, where the 10 of us lived in a place called Harmony House, and we all graduated on the roof of our sunken in building. There's pictures of that.
Yes.
I had maybe one of our fellow people there in the house got married, and I do believe we were riding in the back of a station wagon while
Oh,
he was driving to what was some dinner, and I remember
yeah.
being there, and with you, I remember staying at his house. Uh, we had some funny times there, but
Oh man.
still knowing you, and we all separated after college. But my goodness, we still knew of each other, but how many years have passed since we actually talked?
And that's the thing that I think you and I realized. a couple years ago when we reconnected is, wow, it's been 30 years. Yeah, definitely. That wedding was in Chicago, and I hadn't spent a lot of time in Chicago. I'd been there a couple times,
Hmm.
and I still, even with that trip, I haven't spent a lot of time there. But it was fun to be there with you, because then the rest was the family and other wedding party people that we didn't really know.
Yep,
And
I remember
oh,
being at the groom's parents' house, and we're sitting there with his family, and I just remember, I don't know, this is really near here nor there,
oh,
but they asked for a slice of toast and would you like jelly? So I put a little bit of jelly on it. Well, I put a lot of bit of jelly on it, and she was none too happy.
oh man,
one
that's
one of the
funny.
sisters, I tried to spread it out for her, trying to, earn my keep a little bit. And here I go. Hey, you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on toast? And oh my gosh,
Oh.
I globbed on my jelly, and they just, they spread it thin.
Talk about a different culture. I mean, both of us, I think, were in a bit of shock. I certainly had never been in that kind of a setting in an inner city with a family, a guy that I really loved, and actually he and his wife, and as you know, we've reconnected all these years later too, and had some new memories with them. But to be in their wedding in inner city and his brother and sisters, and oh my gosh, just some of the fun that all that was. But it was so what a contrast to my life. I'd never experienced anything like that.
Nor have I. Nor
No,
have I. I
yeah.
remember like they were supposed to be at the dinner banquet or the wedding dinner at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and here we are in that loop of Chicago, 12 lanes of traffic, and it was just bumper to bumper, and we're facing backwards. We're looking at backward like little kids going down,
Oh
and we're
man.
looking out the back, and we're just like, okay, we're moving 12 feet every minute.
And
And
we're trying to be nice to the people behind us.
right, and they're looking at us, and we're like, okay, we're smelling the exhaust coming up from the station wagon,
The
and
moment.
Josue, is getting
Yeah.
he's getting all nervous. He's late for his own. Oh my goodness, he's late for his own wedding.
Oh, and I
So
remember I remember a grandparent being there, and oh, can you guys help him get to the bathroom? Well, that was our funny one of our funny stories is how he wanders off. I don't remember seeing him again the whole weekend. So I kind of wonder if he ever made it to the
well, I
wedding.
remember I had to speak at that dinner too. I had to
Oh,
speak,
that's
and I'm like, well, what do
right.
you say? I opened it up. I remember this. Well, I remember saying something to the effect it was that one fine evening out across the mountaintops, or
Oh,
that night they were out watching the stars. Well, I almost said the names,
oh, yeah.
but anyway, and then all of a sudden you could hear a pin drop. I mean,
Oh,
you want to talk about instant water coming off of my forehead? Like, oh, I opened up a can of worms,
oh
you
no.
know. But I mean, it was good. I mean, it was really good. Because he was my roommate, we had a good time. But
Yeah.
it all worked out. I mean, even years, I kept in touch with him, and that's actually how we reconnected.
Yeah.
Segue to that because I visited him after visiting my daughter. Here's a funny story. I went down to Texas with my family. We stayed there, but it also gave me an opportunity to fly from Dallas to Los Angeles, my
Mm,
first time being in California. And at that particular time, because I was going to visit my daughter, this is ironic. This is how I know that certain things work out. I'm not going to mention names, and I'll just keep it really, really brief. Well, Josue and I, he come down from like Fresno area. I'm in a little, I don't know what it was, Huntington Beach area, where my daughter was. Well, ironically, his daughter was 20 minutes from my daughter. So I flew from Dallas to Los Angeles, met up with him and his daughter and my daughter. We went to the beach. We went to lunch. We talked like, like it was a reunion. And then he left. I spent the rest of the time with my daughter because she had to get back to where she was staying. And I was waiting for him to come back. In the meantime, he drove like an hour to go get his son's furniture because he was leaving college. He was an hour away from where we were. So he gets the furniture, comes back, picks me up, and we trek 4 hours north back to the Fresno area, and I stay overnight. Well, that particular night, he like, let's do a video call. Well, guess who it was to?
Yours
It
truly.
was to you. Yeah, yours truly. Man, you went up one side of me and down the other. Some reunion.
Oh, I had a better memory of us than you did. I think
Well, because you did all the talking.
I know. I remembered us being goofy in college, and so then I picked up where we left off, and you're like, I don't know if I remember all that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure I did either.
Oh man! But
But
now
but
we
anyway, I do believe that was how we reconnected, and you
yes,
can fill in any other memories from that point on if you'd like,
I
because I do think
yeah,
I don't remember who made the first phone call.
I don't know for sure either. I'm just glad that we did reconnect, and I'm thankful, and I'm looking forward to other topics and things that we will present and have out there as we do the podcast. Yeah, so keep at it, man. We're doing it. We're doing
Yes,
it,
for sure.
sharing it with our friends and family and millions of others.
That's our goal, just to share and to make memories.
Yeah.
And to chat and laugh. So, all right, sir. I guess this is the end, and until next time.
Hey, you're amazing.